Are the cameras hot?
We are recording. Welcome. We are going live in 3, 2, 1 with Professor Raut. Cue the music.
Is this thing on? It's on? Yeah?
You are live.
I am live. Wonderful. Well, welcome everyone to the DCBuzz, take 2. The DCBuzz presents Quiet on the Set, Roll Sound. This is where we demystify some basic production audio concepts that'll have you sounding great on your next project. I have with me in the booth, Mike Hanley with Project and Portfolio 2. We also have Jessica Cobine, Intro to Film and Video, as well as Project and Portfolio 2. And I have my trusty sidekick, Alan Harris. We all know Alan. He's practically in every course. But we're going to have a wonderful time tonight because sound, more specifically production audio, the recording of our actors on set is so important to your production. There are a handful of things that I want to cover tonight. I want to start with the why. Why do we strive for good quality production audio? Well, first off, we strive so hard to get a really beautiful image. It's well composed, lighting is perfect, focus is crisp, all this really cool stuff. And then our production audio sounds horrible. So here we have this horrible audio and it can kill a beautiful image that you slaved over getting. Or on the flip side of that, if you get great production audio, it can really elevate even, a mediocre looking image. So that's really why it's so important that you strive and give production audio, the importance that it deserves. The next thing I want to cover is contaminants. Okay, we all know what contaminants are. We know what visual contaminants can be, but from an audio standpoint, what are some of those things? Well, when I go out on a set, I go to a location, because most of the time, your production audio team is rarely invited to a location scout. Okay, they just tell you where to be, when, and hopefully you've had time to look at the script and all that kind of stuff to do as much pre-production as possible, right? So when we go on set, before we even open our cases and start setting up, we listen. We don't say anything. We listen to the surroundings or our location. We listen for things like traffic. If we're outside, traffic. Is it windy? What are some other things? Music playing in the background. Those are things that many times we hope to have control over. When we go inside a location, what are some of the things we listen for? The room sound, for one. If it's a big room, big boomy room, we listen for things like echo and reverb and all that kind of stuff. If we're shooting, let's say, in a restaurant, we listen for things like refrigeration, air conditioning, and we do the best we can do to mitigate those contaminants, if you will, so we get the most pristine, best quality, direct sound that we can get, which then in turn helps us in post to where we don't have to work so hard to clean up our audio. So tonight, what are we going to do tonight? So for those of you who have your camera package, and for those of you who have not received it yet, we're going to talk about simply how to make a boom pole. What do we have in our bag, in our kit that we've received, and how can we build a boom pole and get that microphone off the camera and in front of our talent to get the best quality audio. So we're going to look at building a pole, and I think the best way for this light bulb to turn on is for you actually for you to hear the sound coming through your microphone and where to best place that microphone, because you can have hundreds of thousands of dollars of production audio gear, wireless, these amazing microphones. But if you don't get that microphone placed in the right location, it doesn't matter all the other gear that comes after the microphone. Now, I want to kind of make an analogy. A microphone is like a lens. I want you to kind of file that away. A microphone is like a camera lens. It's an audio lens. It's the first point of the first place we hear sound, or we start collecting sound. And then after that, it goes down the cable and through signal flow and all of our gear. So we're going to do some critical listening. We're going to show you how to hook it up to the camera. And then once we go through all that, we'll open up the floor for a Q&A. So you guys good? Ready? Cool. Let's go. So I'm going to take you through building a boom pole. So let's go. So you can go to Lowe's, Home Depot, Ace Hardware, and get yourself this is a 5-foot basic painter's pole, okay? And I'm going to show you how to put the microphone on in a minute. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is take the microphone off the camera. So the way we do it is here's our microphone holder on the camera. I'm simply going to do this. I'm going to unsnap this, and then I'm going to open it up like so. I'm going to take it off. Make sure you don't lose this bushing kind of thing here that keeps the microphone isolated with your clip. I'm going to take the microphone off this XLR cable, okay? I'm going to kind of hang this over here for a minute. Now, in your package, you were given a 25-foot XLR microphone cable and this handle with a mic clip on the end. This is actually going to be great because you can put your microphone in it and you can handhold it, and that makes it that really is a great little accessory so you can record sound effects. That's going to be sound effects recording is going to be coming up in a future DCBuzz. Yeah. So here we go.
One of these things.
One of these things.
Yeah, one of the DCBuzz from the Hive.
From the Hive?
From the Hive.
Awesome.
That's this room.
Okay. So we have our clip here, our handle. Can you see that? Our handle and clip. Now on the bottom here, we have this little adapter that unscrews. Okay. So here we go. All I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to just drop it on the end of the painter's pole. Hey, check that out. Look at that. Then I'm going to take some tape. This is really cool. And I'm simply going to tape this to the end of the pole, like so. All right. Check that out. Now, I'm going to take the microphone and I'm going to put it into the clip on the end of the pole. Boom. Look at that. Check it out. I have a boom pole. Isn't that cool? Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our XLR, okay? We're going to put it in here, and then we're going to put the cable in the pole. Now what I do is I'm going to angle the microphone down like that. That's not where it's going to end up. All that's going to do is give me some extra slack to play to give me, the ability to adjust the angle of the microphone. Cool? All right. So do that. And then here's where it gets fun. Take another piece of tape. I'm going to tape this here like so. All right. And now I'm going to simply wrap it, coil it around the pole like so. I'm not going to get too crazy like that. I'm just going to wrap it like that. And we used to do this a lot before they actually put internal cables into our telescoping boom poles, okay? So if you want, you can then, hold on, take another piece of tape and you can do this. You can tape off the bottom. Now, when we get on set, we have plenty of room to be able to adjust the angle of the microphone without tugging on the cable. Okay, cool? Awesome. Okay, so now, if you have a boom op that you're working with, some just good basic booming technique about how we hold the pole is pretty much like this, okay? Now, if we turn sideways, you can see that, all right? If you guys could see that. Now, the reason we hold our hands like this is because if we have to move the microphone closer or away from the talent, we simply do that with our arms. And we can really control as the actor is moving. We can certainly adjust the microphone. We can roll the microphone in our hands if the talent moves, and we're really good to go. That's pretty much some basic technique that both Alan and I use all the time out on jobs. Wherever the talent moves, we have to move with them, and this allows us to do that. We have full range of motion, like so, and we can rotate the pole. We can go high or we can go low. Cool. Now, many of you are one-man bands where, you have very minimal crew and you need to be able to position that boom pole when you don't have anyone to hold it. So we have a lot of really cool accessories to help you mount and position the pole. Okay. All right. So, Alan, would you hold this for a minute? All right. So if you can see this, we have on the top, this is just a basic light stand. Even the light stands that you have in your kit will have this similar type of top to the top tier. This is just a generic Matthews grip head that I bought online. It's not all that expensive. So you just take this, put it on like so, lock it down. Now this, everyone, if you can see it, this is what we call a boom buddy. A boom buddy. The pole will actually sit in this, and you can raise it or lower it. And I use this thing all the time. If I'm doing just an interview type of thing, a sit down, I'm not going to stand there with my audio bag on and hold my hands up for 45 minutes. Okay, so we will use this. Now, you can find one of these just at a Walmart, for instance. Go to the fishing sporting goods department, go to the fishing, or you can buy it online. It's a boat mount fishing pole holder, and that thing just goes in here like so. Oh, come on. All right, is that in there? It is now. Okay, so Alan, can I have that poll? So really all we do now is simply, we put the pole in like this, like so, and there you go. Oh, my backwards here. Am I? I had this all set, Ellen. Okay, so it's I have it backwards actually, but that's what it really does. Okay, cool, awesome. All right, let me get that right. Yeah, I've never had this much difficulty with that. There we go, just like that. Okay, so I strongly suggest you try to get a rig like this. It'll really help you out a lot. Okay, so at this point, let's go to our critical listening. And at this point, I'm going to have Alan Boom, and he's going to show you where we place the microphone, and I'm going to talk, okay? And what he's going to do, we're going to start out with really good mic position, and it should sound really good, okay? That's mic number 2. So can you stand over there, possibly? It's good. If you're tall, you'll make a great boom up. Okay, so move the microphone back a little bit. I'm gonna angle this like so. And let's see here. We spend so much time, guys, trying to get great mic position. So if you can see that, you know, what we want to do when we position the microphone, we want to point it pretty much at the solar plexus right here instead of the mouth. People think that you want to point it at the mouth, but it's harder. It's like a smaller target. So I'm going to move back just a little bit. So now you can see this microphone is in front of the talent, okay, and it's pointing right here. All right. Sound good, Jessica?
Sounds really good.
Fantastic. Okay, so basically, you know, it's not going to get the audio is not going to get any better than this. This is the perfect placement. Okay, the perfect placement. Bring it down a little bit. I don't care if they see it in the frame. I just want to make sure that they hear it well. Okay, back up just a little bit. See how we're always adjusting. Bring it down. Okay, so now that should sound really good. So I want you to kind of tune your ear to what that sounds like, really good sounding audio. So now, Alan, I want you, I'm going to turn over here, but I want you to leave the microphone where it is. Can you guys hear a difference in my voice when the microphone is here instead of in front of me? Jessica? Cool. Awesome. Okay, so so we would refer to that as being off axis. So now if I go back to where the microphone is placed where it should sound a lot better. Okay, so remember, the microphone should be in front of the talent, right above the frame line. Okay, we haven't talked about frame line yet. We will in a minute. Right above the frame line, so you don't bust what we call bust the frame. All right, that's when the boom op has the microphone too far into the shot where we see it. Now, you might think, that's not a big deal because we just have AI to paint it out. Well, what I want you to really understand is that there are some amazing tools out there, but you might not have access to them. So it's really good to work on getting good, solid miking skills to where we get really good sound starting out. Because if you have to do any cleanup later, the better the sound is going into the computer for cleanup, the less it has to work, and you get much better results. So there's no substitute for a real mic, a really good quality shotgun mic positioned right in front of the talent. So just remember that. Okay. So Alan, I want you to mic the top of my head. Okay. So if you can see that, bring that over here a little bit more. Now watch this. If I point the microphone down and it's miking the top of my head, my sound is going out this way, but the microphone is miking the top of my head. Or Alan, boom behind me. So now, he's booming behind me, and I know that I don't even have to have headphones on to know that that doesn't sound good. Okay, so now let's go back to the normal position, which would be right like that. Okay, so here we are back to the way we should be booming to give you the best quality sound. Okay, so I hope you were able to hear the difference, because that's half the battle. Tuning your ear, training your ear to hear what your production audio sounds like when the microphone is off axis versus on axis. Now, I just realized I didn't explain what that means. When you hear the term on axis, what that means is that you are speaking directly into the microphone, okay? But off axis means that your voice is coming into the side of the microphone, okay? Which we lose when the sound entering the microphone is off axis. We lose a couple things. We lose level and we lose high frequency. So it's going to sound dull and low level. Okay. So when you are on axis, that is the best place to be. And that's literally right in front of the microphone. Okay. So at this point, now that you understand how to just build a simple pole, it's not rocket science. You take your clip, your handle clip that's in your package, you take off the adapter on the bottom, you stick it on the pole, you tape it up, and then you put the microphone in, connect the cable, wrap it around, tape it off, and you're good to go. Okay. And then we know the miking, the booming technique, the microphone placement, and guys, we're more than halfway there. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Alan, and he's going to go over how we plug into the camera, how we work with our settings, and how we set up our levels. And then at that point, we're just going to turn it over to you guys to ask questions. And so why don't we do that? Are you ready, Ellen?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Awesome.
Switching
All right.
microphones.
Awesome. Okay. So mute this mic.
You are muted. You are live back on.
Live back on that one? Okay, fantastic. All right. Can we get a camera on Alan here? Say hi, Alan.
Okay. You are live on the FX3
Now.
right now.
I am actually gonna boom Alan. So you get
This is the
You
full
get a-
experience.
you get a really fun experience.
Awesome. Let's stand right here for now as I explain. So as we already said, we already have our boom pole, signal flow, mic coming out of here, coming into the end of our XLR. So for right now, I'm just going to set this over to the side, make sure it's nice and stable. We're going to walk over to our FX6 right over here. As long as you have your handles attached, you'll see that there's two inputs. I'm just going to get this little guy out of the way. You have input 1 and input 2. At the very bottom here, you can see, and it might be a little hard to see.
Hang on.
Yep.
What do you think, Jessica?
A little dark.
Going up. How we at? Okay, go.
Awesome. So we can see we have a line level, a mic level, and a mic 48. This microphone and a lot of other microphones are going to be called shotgun microphones, condenser microphones, and these microphones need to be powered by 48 phantom power. If you're coming from another device, that's typically what line level is going to be. Normal mic is going to be stage microphones. This is just going to be like a karaoke microphone or things people use in churches, and this is going to be called a dynamic microphone. This is powered by the person's voice, so it doesn't need that 48 phantom power to work. If you accidentally have mic on and try to use a shotgun microphone, you're just never going to get signal from it. So if you plug it in and you're not getting anything from it, this might be your reason. So I'm going to go into input number 1, switch it over to Phantom 48. I'm going to take this end of our XLR, and we're going to plug it right in. And always remember, listen for the click. If you don't hear that click, that might not be engaged completely, and you might start hearing static, or it might not even work to begin with.
I'm gonna move in just a little closer
Perfect.
on there for a second. Can you, everyone prepare for seasickness? Remember, this is a live stream. Okay.
And then just for reference, always.
How's that, Jessica?
Up. You're going. Yep.
And then just remember, whenever you're trying to disengage this, XLRs are professional, which means it has a locking mechanism. So don't just yank this. You're going to have to push on this little silver push button right here to disengage it. And always remember, when you're engaging it, listen for it plugs in. That click. Perfect. Now let's talk about some of the settings.
You might want to come over here, Mike.
If I can.
I can actually do some of this.
Can you rotate the pod?
There we go.
All right, Jessica, tell me if I'm okay.
Up.
Okay.
I'm giving Andy a workout here.
Yeah. Thanks,
So
Alan.
over on this side is going to be where you actually adjust for those levels. So again, we can see channel 1 at the top, channel 2.
Autofocus is not catching.
It's going now.
So channel 1 is going to be on top, channel 2 is going to be on the bottom. When we're adjusting, we always want to make sure we set this level right here to manual. If you have it up on automatic, it's going to get wonky. It's going to try to catch the level to what the camera thinks, but we're professionals here. We want to set that level manually. Of course, we have our little dial right here, and that's going to actually set our level. And that's just going to be turning all the way up to number 10 for the loudest, all the way down to number 1 for the quietest.
I'm trying. Welcome to live streaming.
Welcome to live streaming, everybody. So what are good levels? Well, that's going to depend on your metering, which is actually going to be on the screen of your camera, which is going to be on our viewfinder. So let's turn that over. And I'm actually going to pop this up. Hold on. There we go. Might be a little easier. So when you're on your main screen here, you can see those levels bouncing at the corner here, but I actually have a trick for you. If you come to the side of your camera.
Okay.
Oh, we have our.
Hang on,
we have
please.
this.
Switch.
I don't think
to-
I've ever done this before.
No.
We've got the
Double booming.
Alan. We are now on the display itself of the camera, so that
Perfect.
you can reference that.
So I will position myself like this.
Because that's what's going into the camera. So Mike, you gotta get a shot of this. This is rare.
There we go. So right
Holding
now,
for picture.
I don't think I've ever done this before, holding 2 boom poles.
so we actually see the display of our camera now. Yep, everyone good? And at the very bottom, you can see where those levels are bouncing.
You got a camera on that, Mike? On the display.
It should, Liz, you should be seeing the display on the viewfinder right
Okay.
now. Yes, you are seeing it level. Channel 1 is displaying audio.
So now whenever I click on full menu. Let's see if it brings up this menu.
It's coming up perfect.
So actually, of course, channel 1 is not bouncing, channel 2 is, because I have it set to 0. And just so I let everyone know, whenever I click on full menu, it's gonna pop up this, and you can see it's on screen number 3. So just scroll down number 3, and this is how we get our big metering. This is how we can actually see what we need to see. So right now I'm set to 0. I'm gonna start turning us up, and we should see, there we go, channel number 1 is starting to bounce. What's a good level for a microphone? It's gonna be somewhere between -20 and -10. So please have your talent speak at a consistent level, what they're actually gonna be speaking at, just like this. Be careful not to peak your microphone. If you start peaking your microphone, you're gonna distort it, and there's no recovering from distortion. So make sure not to go too hot like we are starting to right now. So don't go too much. We want that bouncing somewhere between -20 and -10, which that's a pretty good level right there. And of course, to get this menu off, we just click on it again, and we're good.
Awesome. I thank you, Alan.
Of course.
Going back to the FX3.
All right. So I think we have pretty much covered the basics. All right. So we're repositioning our microphone here. All right.
Going back to the FX6 for the shot.
Awesome. Okay. So let's just do a quick recap. The why, because we want to get awesome production audio so it elevates your image, elevates your story. And here's another thing. If you get really poor production audio, most low to mid-sized budget projects don't have the money or the resources to go in and do ADR to fix it. So that's even more important when it comes to your budget, that you really work to get great production audio, because everything else we do in the process, in the post process for the audio, we can always record more sound effects. We can always go from just basic library music to have our movie rescored. We can start with a stereo mix of the audio, but if later we have the opportunity or the need, or we have to meet QC or requirements to submit an Atmos mix, we can always do that. But it's really hard to go back after the fact and bring actors back in to re-record lines that, had we prioritized really good quality production audio, we wouldn't have to be doing that. So that's the why. Contaminants. What are our contaminants? Traffic, people talking, airplanes. You know, Full Sail is on a flight path, so it's not uncommon that when we are filming out on our back lot to hold for a jet. Okay. What are some others? If we're shooting inside, we have things like refrigeration and AC and all these kind of things that we, as production sound mixers, now granted, we've moved to mixer as opposed to just the booming, you know, even as filmmakers, you still have to be cognizant of all of the background noises. Now I'm using noise in a context of undesirable audio. Okay, so you still need to take care of that. We showed you how to build a pole, real simple. I think that that painter's pole was like maybe $6-7 from Lowe's, and that'll help you. Well, it won't just help you; it'll enable you to get your microphone off your camera. And then you heard the critical listening. That's the proof's in the pudding. If you can hear the difference, of the sound of a microphone that is positioned properly in front of your talent, as close as you can get it without busting the frame line, what that means is, Alan, can you hand me that poll? When a boom op asks for a frame line, this is common. We do it all the time. Before we shoot, we ask the camera person, I need a frame line. So you can obviously see me on the other side of the frame, but am I out of your shot?
No, you are against the wall.
Well, I mean,
think
is
you are-
the
boom
microphone-
is out of the
Yes.
shot,
The
yes.
boom's out of the shot.
Yes.
So when I call requesting frame line, what we do is we literally dip the pole,
Up, please.
okay, up,
Up.
keep
up,
going.
Keep going. Up. Down a little. Down a little. Up. Right there. Slowly
So-
up. Up. Right there.
Okay, so I am out of the shot.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what it means to ask for a frame line. Okay, now there are a couple ways to play a frame line. If we are doing narrative where we can go back and say, okay, back to 1, take 2, take 3. Whereas if that boom, is in the shot a little bit, it's like, okay, not a problem. But if we're doing reality or unscripted or interviews where we only get one shot at it, we tend to, where we normally would be sitting right on the frame line and out of the frame, we tend to go just a little bit higher. Okay, a little bit higher. We don't sit right on the frame line. We get a little bit above it, because if we're filming something that is somewhat serious, emotional, that we have to get it on that first take. You heard me talk about this in Introduction to Post-Production when we were talking about a 2-camera shoot and the whole point of the close-up shot to get the emotion, and then the medium close-up is for just general stuff. When we are only shooting one camera and we're just going for it, and we don't want to have to retake an emotional response, we tend to go a little higher. Plus, over time, when we're out, on a long gig, our arms get tired. We get fatigued, and sometimes, we can't hold it above the frame line, and it ends up dipping into the shot. Okay, so that's where our trusty boom buddy and light stand or C stand comes in handy, because that doesn't get tired, and you can stick that in there and position that microphone and get it placed just right. So these are things that Alan and I know Ginzo is on with us tonight. He's another experienced production audio guy, and we all relate to these things because we have to deal with them when we're out on set. So these are just some basic things that I hope we've been able to demystify for you tonight, that on your next project, try it. Go get a poll. It's, we pay more for a cup of coffee at Starbucks than going to Lowe's or Home Depot and getting, a painter's pole. So I challenge you to make a boom pole and really work to get good, not just good, great audio. And I can assure you, you will not be disappointed. And you'll, as your projects get bigger, more complicated, you will prioritize a sound mixer and a boom op, because just remember this: audio, as you know, is the other half of your film. Don't shortchange it. So at this point, I'm gonna turn it over to the floor.
I've got a question, sir.
You have a question?
I have a question, sir.
Well, then come
Your wonderful
here.
class. Your beautiful class.
What?
They're shooting with one of these. Any tips?
Oh my gosh.
Any tips?
Really?
One tip.
One tip.
One tip.
One tip. First off, it's important to know where the microphone is, for starters. Now, we just went over that you need to get the microphone as close to the actor as possible. All right. Now, when we are working with a camera, a camera phone, where here's the position of the camera, and let's say Mike, who's operating the camera, we're probably about maybe what, 5 feet. I'm 5 feet from Mike, and imagine he's the talent. So
4 feet 7 inches, as was focused at on your eye.
fantastic. You gotta remember, we might have this, the camera might be positioned here so we don't kind of bug out the talent, and instead of having the camera in his or her face, right? So it's back here. But remember, the microphone's back here. So the framing of your shot might be tight. Like, let's say we take this and I zoom in on my phone. So I'm creating a close-up of Mike. So remember this, the image is tight, okay? You've heard us use the term tight. It's another word for a close-up. But the microphone is back here. So what happens is there's a disconnect between, your brain picks up this disconnect of why is this image, why is this person's face so far, tight, but the audio sounds so distant? There's just something that does not compute. So what we have to do is we have to move the camera, move our phone as close to the actor as we can without making them feel uncomfortable, because we have to get the microphone, which I believe is right here, this little hole right there, and we got to get it as close to the actor as possible. Then what we do is, chances are, I'm probably looking up his nose right now, with my shot. So then I have to zoom it. I have to open up a little wider on my framing to keep the sound of the microphone as close to the actor as possible, while still matching that sound to the frame. It's pretty accepted that if you see two people talking and the shot is wide, man, Alan, you are on it.
And he's
I'm moving back and forth, and Alan
dipped into the frame once.
And Alan's booming. He's doing his job.
You all can't see it, but
so-
Ellen keeps moving back and forth as Andy moves.
Right, because right now, hang on, switch that.
Switch into the side view.
So here's what Ellen has been doing. So when you saw me move lean into the camera, he had to move back to keep that microphone on me. But then as I move back to my mark here, he has to come closer, because he can't change the length of the pole. He has to set the pole at a distance that is kind of in the middle, but then he physically has to move with the talent. That was awesome. So that's the deal with are we on this one?
Now I'll get back to that one.
Oh, we're going back?
Now I'll take you back to it so you can be more emotive.
Oh yes, emotive.
Drama.
I'm very serious now. Okay. So no, but really seriously, that's what we were talking about in intro to post-production, as far as in week 2, when we were talking about our interview. How do we get good quality, great sounding audio that matches our image? Because unlike this, when we're out on a normal gig, we're independent of the camera. So it's not uncommon for the camera to be 10 feet away, but pushed in to frame up, and then the boom op, because they're independent of the camera. The boom op, as long as the microphone and the boom op is out of the shot, the boom op could be 3 feet from the talent while the camera is 10 feet away. So that's the beauty of when you get to filming with your camera package, and you can separate the boom mic from the camera. Then you have a lot more flexibility in where your crew can be placed, or where our crew can be placed, right? So yeah, did that answer?
Oh, that was perfect.
Cool.
I know there's a lot of questions coming up, but I've got one more for him. We did hear a definite change in the audio from when you switched from your microphone to this one the students get.
Oh, you mean this one?
Yeah, it actually, a lot of the noise disappeared.
With this one?
No, with the other one. Is this a more sensitive microphone than the one the students are getting?
Yeah,
So the more sensitive microphone, the more the noise they're going to pick up?
correct.
Okay.
Now, we weren't going to really get into mic theory at this point, but we can, because are they also getting?
It was just a minor notice that since I noticed a big difference, I just want to
Yeah.
throw that one question out, just as a reference.
Okay,
So we don't have to get into the whole thing. It just
condenser, you heard Alan talk about condensers and dynamics earlier. When we are doing production audio, we want to use a condenser microphone because it is more sensitive to all the mid-range and high frequencies. So we get a really beautiful, clear, crisp sound with a condenser microphone as opposed to a dynamic microphone. Are they still getting the Sennheiser mic?
That's the one they're getting. It's the one you showed.
That's it. We're not doing
No, they're getting the Sony
that,
one.
and but they're not. The handheld is in the package as well.
The handle is
Oh, the handle, but the Sennheiser is not.
no.
Okay, so, but if you have access to a dynamic microphones are great, when we are doing podcasts, and because we can see the microphone, we can get it close to our mouth, and we get a really deep, nice radio kind of sound. And that dynamic microphone is not as sensitive. So therefore, all of this air conditioning up here that you are hearing, you won't hear with the dynamic microphone, but because the condenser is so sensitive, we hear it. We hear it all. That's why it's so important that you understand how to mitigate the contaminants. And a shotgun microphone is highly directional, okay? Highly directional, where you point it. So the longer the microphones are, literally, they're microphones that long, okay? They're highly directional, and whereas other microphones pick up everywhere. So your ability to turn the microphone away from AC is really important, okay? Or what we try to avoid, you want a mic from below? Yep. Okay, there are a lot of times you will see miking from below. Now, we don't say never to do that. We don't say never to do that because sometimes we are in situations where we're booming, where that's our only option. But I just want you to know, anytime you point a microphone up towards the ceiling, you're going to get a lot more air and reverb if you're in a big building of such. So whenever you point the microphone up and up, because you have to mic from below, you're going to pick up all this a lot more. But if you turn the microphone down, you don't hear it, because typically boom mics reject sound coming from behind. So all this air that's coming in behind the microphone, will be mitigated pretty well. So, all right. So open it up to the floor. So you want to put that back up? Yep. We're not going to do our little thing because I want you to be number 3.
All right, we got some questions. First from Edward. Ready?
Are we ready?
Are you getting in the frame with him?
Yes, he is.
Okay. Hop in.
All right. So, Alan and I are going to answer all your, well, maybe not all, they're burning production audio questions. So, all right, Jessica, who's our first question?
First up, we have Edward.
Edward, welcome, Edward.
What are some good poles that have internal XLR cable and where can I get them?
Which what? No, say that.
Where can I get them?
What has
XLR
good
cables.
internal?
Internal microphone. What you recommend is an
Like-
internal.
You wanna-
microphone.
My favorite brand is K-Tech. That's what I personally use. Now they can get pretty pricey.
Oh, you mean a boom pole?
Yeah, boom pole
Oh,
with
yeah.
internal cabling.
Internal cable. I'm so sorry, Edward. Yes, I agree with Alan. K-Tech is our go-to brand on a lot of different kinds of gear.
And that's actually the K-Tech with an internal is what I was booming with whenever Andy was
Yep.
speaking.
Ron, showing, okay, so can you reference it again?
Yep, right up here. And again, you can see that the cabling up here is inside the actual pole and it runs down to the bottom.
But it's just the pole, not the shock mount. on
Nope,
there, right?
it's just the pole, the shock mount is extra, but the cable and the pole is all included. And then
it's
of
a-
course you need an XLR to come out of the pole.
Yeah, and it's a coiled cable, so when the pole is retracted, it coils up, so it doesn't get all kinked up in the inside the pole.
And I think that leads in beautifully to Deborah's question. Is there a limit how tall a boom pole can be?
A limit to how
How
tall?
tall?
Okay,
Boom
the
operator or boom
the
pole?
boom operator, or how
Well,
long
she's-
the boom pole can be.
I think she mean how long.
Oh, you can buy. I should look at the camera, shouldn't I?
Yes.
Boom poles can be as small as maybe, a few feet to the epic cinema pole, which can be upwards to 20 feet.
I think mine's around 10 or
10.
12. That's my
Yeah.
personal one.
Most of the work that we do is kind of E&G type work where we're running around with a camera team as opposed to these big, crazy, big shots. So we want to travel as light as we can. And in order to get a pole to go to 20 plus feet, we have what are called risers in the pole. As a telescoping, for a telescoping pole, we have risers. And those long cinema poles, when they're completely collapsed, are almost as tall as I am.
Yep.
And this is something that is really crazy. If you ever see a picture in like American Cinematographer, for instance, and you see these amazing wide shots, you might see a boom op just like this, okay?
Wait,
Like-
going to a side shot so we
Going
can
to a
see
side
that-
shot?
that cool, clear. Go
Okay,
ahead,
good.
make the
So
gesture.
it's like, and it's just like this kind of thing. And the arc, you can literally see an arc to the pole. And if you just move one little bit, you can see that pole bounce. And we know that if it bounces, that means the mic is moving and changing the sound.
Okay, back to 6.6.
I feel like I'm in a newscast where,
I mired
face.
in television production. I was a TV.
Okay, what's our next question?
What type of stand can we get for the boom pole and how much will it cost?
Well,
You mentioned the light stand. So I
You
think
can
we'll
use-
reiterate that.
you can use one of your light stands. The ones that we're using are C stands, so they're really robust and heavy duty. But you can use one of your light stands because it has the same top on it as our C stands. And this stand right here is just another heavy duty light stand.
Going wide.
Okay. And
So this is a light stand. You have that on.
yes, it is. Absolutely.
Okay.
See that?
Zooming in. Just want to make sure everyone is clear. This is a light stand he is referencing.
Yep. And you can get this generic Matthews grip head. I bought this one off Amazon. You can get this Boom Buddy if you go to the fishing department at Walmart. And you can probably for what, $20?
Yep.
Get this little rig right here and then just stick it right on top of your light stand. And what's cool is that if you use the painter's pole, the boom pole that we showed you, it's fairly light duty. So the lightweight light stand will be fine to be able to support that.
We do still recommend the sandbags as always talked about for the set safety. Remember in part 2, that was the quiz in week 3.
So
Shameless
yes,
plug.
that is a great point. Set safety is everything. So and you know, even though it's a boom pole, okay, you might not think it has a big heavy light on top, still bag it.
Yep. Especially once they start getting extended, they
Yep.
can get very heavy at the end.
Yeah, and just the slightest bump, you know, this thing can tilt over.
Something else, and we might not be able to show it too perfectly, but whenever you are pointing your boom pole in a certain direction, try to have the leg kind of bracing that weight, because a lot of the weight is going to be going in this
That way.
direction.
Right.
Go
So,
to the side shot.
yep. So let's just say I'm going in this direction, booming in this area. Try to have your leg pointing in that direction. You're going to have a lot more stability going that way than if you're off to the side. It's a lot easier for this stand to knock over. So always try to have a leg pointing in the direction of your weight.
Absolutely. That's great. Great point, Alan.
Should we try to keep, or do we need to keep the boom mics out of the frame?
Always keep it out of the frame.
Yep.
Would it be great to have both types of of shotgun mics on a set?
Well, what? Okay, what types? You know.
Meaning between the two that we have.
Oh, you mean
You have
the
the-
one with the camera, the one that comes on the camera, and the one that we're using that we normally put in our kit. You can, but we pretty much default to the better quality microphone. Remember, I said it's like a camera lens. It's the audio version of a camera lens. So if you have the option of putting a Zeiss lens on front of your camera versus, you know, the stock lens from Sony, and you know the Zeiss lens is going to give you a much better image, which one would you use? Same with a shotgun mic. Now, we do have there are different shotgun mics with different what we call EQ curves, which you use a Sanken CS3, right?
Yep.
And I use a Sennheiser MKH416. And there you might think, oh, well, they're both shotguns. Okay, they sound the same. Well, like no one lens looks like another lens. No shotgun mic sounds like another shotgun mic. So it becomes ultimately a personal preference. But at the end of the day, when we're watching a movie, you know, once the production dialogue goes through post, unless you read it in an article or an interview of a production sound mixer, you don't know what microphone they use, nor do you care. So our advice is when you're buying audio gear, you should invest first in just an amazing microphone.
Yep.
And then build your audio package around that.
And that's for a little bit more advanced in another episode.
Well, I mean, we could do that.
Vote now.
Vote now if you would like
Put
to
it in the
see
comments.
here
Put it in
as
the
an audio.
comments if there, let me get on the microphone for a second here. This is the first in a series of technical videos. If you have suggestions that you would like to see us talk about in future technical DCBuzz, please drop them in the chat now. This is your only chance right now because when we're done recording, you can't tell us. No, you can send us suggestions.
Yes.
Send them to me.
Send them to mhanley@fullsail.edu,
Make sure you spell Hanley correctly.
and I'll put that link in the chat.
Any other questions?
Yes, we have lots of questions.
Okay, we're only gonna be able to take so
Okay,
many. It's
well,
about
we could
8:06
we
right
could
now.
get these two that we're good.
What are we doing? How are we doing on time?
It's 8:06.
It's 8.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
let's keep going.
Let's
going.
keep
Yeah, we
going.
can keep going.
Great audio on water shots Any tips?
Any tips on water shots?
Wider.
Wider.
Oh, wider shots. I thought you
Master
said
shots.
master
The
shots?
dreaded.
The dreaded master wide shot?
I'm showing how high up your microphone is right now compared to the wide shot you're in. Literally, it is, looking at it on camera, it looks like it's a mile above you, even though it literally is about just above your head.
When we're dealing with wide establishing shots, and once again, that's another one of those things you learned in Intro to Post of the shot types, and you'll be revisiting them again with Mr. Baker, so you know what they look like. Typically, there's not a lot of dialogue in an establishing shot like that, or a wide shot, unless you go back to the days of, remember Miami Vice, where they would have these super long shots, and they, Crockett and Tubbs would be talking way down the road, but you would hear them as though they were framed up in a two shot. That's called playing the perspective. So it's okay if we hear dialogue that sounds a little distant, as long as it matches with the framing. But typically in that case, we're going to use wires on them, because we can't have the boom mic in the shot.
Wire meaning?
Wires meaning lavaliers. We had some out, but we opted not to use them. But they're the wire in the transmitter pack, because we can hide those and really get good quality audio without the microphone being in the shot.
And that's all we're going to say about those. Please stay tuned. That will be a future episode talking everything about wireless, because that's a big topic.
Yeah, and with the proliferation of lower and more affordable wireless, we're seeing more and more people using them. But what we also see is people using them incorrectly. So we want to address wireless in an upcoming episode.
Trying to get audio for two different heights of talent, such as an adult and a child.
That's a tough one.
Well, you want to take that one?
Sadly, because it's a little bit tougher, and I run into it a lot, especially with ENG work. You can't ever go lower than your tallest talent, or else you're going to bust the frame. So working with a variety of shots to get creative with actually seeing a perspective from those lower talents is going to help you. But sadly, also relying on your wireless at that point.
Yeah, you're gonna have to rely on wireless, because a lot of time you'll start with a two shot, and you'll see the different height talent, and then eventually you're going to cut the tights, and at that point, you can use a microphone, a boom in there. But you have to remember, a boom mic is going to sound different than a wireless. Boom mics sound great because they're open air, they're natural. Mm-hmm. You're in the natural ambience of where we're filming.
100%.
And wireless tend to sound a little more clinical because they're so close and they're usually covered. So we tend to, when we're doing work, we'll wire and boom, just so we're covered. But it can be a little challenging in post when you go to mix between those two microphones and trying to match the quality.
Okay.
We have a lot of questions. Hold on, I'm starting.
And I agree 100% with Andy. For me, the best sounding microphone on set is going to be your boom. Lavs are always going to be consistent.
Well, and the thing with lavs is that was always the bane of my existence when I would go on set and I would have a lot of people to lav, and not every actor is comfortable with you getting in their personal space and then having to do it repeatedly to fix a microphone. If a microphone came unmounted and it fell down in wardrobe and all of that. But again, how do you get better at anything? You just gotta do it. But wiring is
Talent.
Yeah, it's it takes a lot of trial and error and different things. So we'll talk about that in a.
We're talking about it too much.
Yeah,
we
we
gotta
are.
save it.
We
We gotta
are.
save the goodies.
Yeah, we have to.
How does talent voice how does talent voice affect microphone selection?
Yeah.
That is a great question. Okay, how can we?
The cop out answer is you have to listen.
Oh, that's
honestly.
right. You have to listen. I don't know if I really worry about that as much in production audio as much as I would in a voiceover.
Mhm.
Okay, because there's so much going on, and I don't want to go down this rabbit hole. There's so much going on in how the human, the structure of your skull and your face and your palates and all of this affect the quality of the voice. And then, if the voice is not really bright and all that, you might want to use like a 416, which has a bump in the high frequencies. It's designed into the manufacturing of the mic. You might use a microphone that has a brighter tone. We see that. My preference I love the CS3, but I have a 416. Both are standards, but the 416 tends to be brighter, but the CS3 has a much better pickup pattern to reject and be very focused.
And on the flip side of that, it likes to become off axis very easily. So you have to be spot on.
Absolutely. But I don't worry about it too much because in post-production, we can clean that up or with our various tools, smooth, make those fixes.
But very great question.
Yeah.
Professor Raut, we're getting a lot of gear questions, so I don't know how far you want to go down that path, because this was supposed to be about listening and capturing audio versus gear.
3 of the 4 are on gear, and one of them is on sound design, which could be its own.
Its own whole
Yeah,
thing,
sound design will come later when we're planning on doing a little an episode on sound effects recording and by extension some sound design and some sound effects editing, and then we're going to ultimately move on to mixing in immersive audio. So that's what you have to look forward to.
And we also had a great request for the wireless to do microphone talent or etiquette.
Microphone etiquette?
The
wiring talent.
wireless etiquette.
First off,
that was a request for down the line for another episode.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, make sure you have a tin of Altoids for starters.
And deodorant.
I'll just kind of do a little kind of preview. When you're wiring children, always have a parent or a guardian. If you're wiring a female, if a female wiring a female is no great shakes, but always CYA with somebody, observing, okay? And be very professional and approach that person from the front, because if you approach them from the back and say, "Hey, Alan, it's time to get wired," that appears a little creepy.
Especially you say it like that.
Well, it
On
is.
a personal note, I know when I've worked with Alan as a camera assistant, me being the camera assistant, Alan being sound, when we've had female talent uncomfortable having him I've gone and done that for him.
Yep. Yeah, having this is a little bit having a team of people, but having your hair and makeup be able to assist you in those situations are also excellent.
When I was working on A Time for Every Purpose, as a boom op utility, your best friend is the wardrobe person. Wardrobe person. You make friends with them day one, because first off, the thing you have to remember wardrobe is no different than a camera. A cameraman's gear is the camera. Anything audio belongs to us. You never touch another department's gear unless you've been instructed to. So you need to remember that wardrobe is the same way. Mm-hmm. You don't go up to an actor and start rifling through their costume and say, "Oh, I got to wire you up." Because many times on that movie, it was just me and I had so many talent to wire, and I had to rely on the wardrobe to help me wire. So as long as you develop that rapport and show them how you want it done, man, you're gold.
Yep.
I think that's all the questions outside of here.
Okay, well, we can talk gear.
Okay.
We like
So
we're gear geeks.
Well, unfortunately, we've only got so much time on
Oh,
here.
yeah.
So basically, what I'm going to suggest, the disembodied voice, and I have the camera on both of our friends. How do you feel about doing just a session that is just gear based? Bring in your stuff, bring in your things, and we just talk gear.
Mike,
gear?
don't tempt me with a good time. Don't do that.
Okay, so for all of you asking the questions,
twist my arm to talk about
we
gear.
really appreciate these questions, and I am taking this as a vote for let them come in.
already getting yes
we're getting
from the
yes toys. So I would say for those that are looking at a more advanced session.
All right. So as a
Talk to the camera.
preview,
Talk to the camera.
Okay. As a preview, Alan, I think we can at least show them
Yep.
your bag.
Yep. I can go grab it.
Go grab it. Okay, this is a little
This is just
a preview,
a
little teaser.
Yes.
A little gear teaser. Okay, Mike.
Yeah, let me take a question while you're doing that one. We had a question, should I go and purchase the exact same mic so I can have two boom mics with the same type of quality other than my cameras? But then he says he's doing an A7R4. Okay.
Who makes it?
Let's see. You can do rental. Talk about rental, please.
Oh, rental?
Yeah, do a quick thing talking about rental before you show the bag versus having to go out and buy all this stuff.
Yep.
Figure take a couple minutes.
Alan, go.
There's great places online. They do pretty good shipping to you. I really like Gotham Sound.
Gotham.
Out of Atlanta and out of New York.
There's Location Sound Corporation.
Yep.
I think they're out in LA, out in Hollywood. You have True Audio, that's TREW Audio. They're based in Nashville.
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah,
And
I think so.
they might have another office out in Vegas, possibly.
And then there's always locals in your area. If you're in a bigger, city area, there's going to be some production houses that rent out gear.
Yeah. Start making a list of production sound people in your area. It's not uncommon. There have been gigs where I asked Alan if I could, rent his tentacle sinks
And vice versa.
Yeah. So, you can go to rental houses, or, a lot of the time we'll rent gear, to help pay them off.
And then something, and this is hard to say for me because I love buying gear. Don't buy gear unless you are expecting to make money off of it. It's really easy to get into the trap of just collecting, and never paying it off.
Yep. Be purposeful in your gear purchases, and don't buy anything that you can't make money with.
Yep. Unless you just want to have fun.
Now go ahead and show the little toy bag.
All right.
So let's see, is that a pretty good frame right there?
Let me zoom in. Let me zoom in. These are the toys.
These are the toys.
Let's all have a collective drool.
I have toy envy.
Okay, there we go. I am in, the framing is the full bag.
Awesome. So really, really quick, we have my mixer here. This is a Sound Devices Mix Pre 10
T.
T.
I have
Just the version 1 though.
I have the same mixer.
Yep.
I have the version 1 as well.
And then we have our wireless here. I have 4. These are dual channel Zaxcom receivers with lavs as well. Over to this side is my IFB. This is going to be how our clients or directors can hear what I'm mixing, so they can, be happy with it. And then up in this corner is going to be my controller for my lavs. My lavs are set up that I can actually record locally. I can adjust the gain. I can adjust the frequency without ever having to touch talent, which is a lifesaver.
That is super important because you can monitor a lot of what's going on the transmitter.
Yep.
Otherwise, other brands don't have that function. Older wireless don't have that feature, and you actually have to go and get all up in the talent to change batteries or change frequencies, that sort of thing, or levels.
Yes.
That's a huge thing. I don't want to go into wireless, but we will later.
So everybody, do not think that this is something that you should go and buy ASAP. This gear has been built over a long period of time. I've been doing this professionally for 8 years, and that's how long it's been to build this kit.
Yeah.
So don't think you can just go and buy this overnight. That's just not how it works. I bought this gear because I knew it was going to make me money, and it's continued to make me money. Overall, in just this bag, not my kit alone, it's probably around somewhere between 15 to 20.
That's $15,000 to $20,000 just in that one bag that he that photo of me in the DCBuzz. I have a similar bag to that one. With instead of having Zaxcom, I had Electrosonics wireless, but we had the same mixer.
And something, again, I want to stress, that gear makes it so it's more convenient for me. You can still get amazing sound with not that level of gear. This gear just allows me to move quicker and not have to think about it twice. There's definitely ways to get amazing quality sounds in any of the works you do. Don't think that that's the only way.
100%.
Yep.
I think that's a good spot to do a little bit of wrap up. So let me do my bit. You two can still stand there and look great while I do the outro.
We'll look pretty.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm leaving their mic open in case they say anything fun. We appreciate you attending this session of the DCBuzz Audio Quiet on the Set. Roll sound. Please be sure to check Full Sail 1 for future DCBuzz. And to remind you, we do this once a month, week 4 Thursdays, from the DC Hive, deep within the bowels of Full Sail. We have our own secret lair.
And spread the word about the DCBuzz.
I'd like to thank Professor Raut and sound mixer boom extraordinaire Alan Harris. Thank you, Jessica, for helping me out with this. I've been Michael Hanley, your host, and we will say good night, and I am going to end the recording. So,
Good night, all.
where's stop record? Stop recording.